The capitalist system, with its emphasis on individual freedom, seems to reflect some of the natural, intrinsic ways humans conduct their business. There is no doubt that it has been a very successful system, but it does have inbuilt flaws that might make it less ideal as the world and human society moves forward, especially when it is in a form that tries to approximate a free market. Many people, such as the sick and disabled, cannot sell their labour to earn a living. Others, such as artists, musicians, writers and philosophers, have much to contribute to society but often very little to sell. In an ideal capitalist world, these might be helped by charity and patronage from those who can afford it, but the behaviour of most rich people is far from ideal, and the morality of treating such people as charity cases is questionable. As a result, they often suffer unless a government steps in and uses taxation to ensure that everyone has enough for at least the basics of life. Such interference, though, makes the market less free. Every country needs an infrastructure to supply the necessities such as water, power, transport, healthcare and communication. Although the free market can and often does supply those things, it tends to do so in a less than ideal way. For example, people who are poor, sick or with large families may have a greater need for the necessities than others, but are less able to pay for them. It would not be acceptable to cut families off from the necessities like healthcare that they need to survive if they cannot pay their bills, because doing so could in essence be sentencing someone to death for the crime of being poor. Although monopolies and cartels are illegal, it is possible to get very close while remaining legal. Rich companies can artificially lower their prices in order to take business from their competitors, being able to survive a period of less profit or even a loss. If their smaller competitors do not have the ability to match the price drop, they will go out of business, at which point the rich company can increase its prices often to above the original price in order to recoup its losses. The end result is restricted competition, allowing the company to behave in a way that harms the consumer. In general, the market, unless regulated in an ethical manner, sacrifices many people for the sake of profit for a few. Even in a relatively competitive market, prices can be kept unnaturally high if the companies believe a consumer will pay above the market price for a product. An example of this would be the so-called Apple tax, which is the difference in what people are prepared to pay for an Apple product compared to an identically capable product from another company. Further, technological progress can be stalled because a company that makes a profitable product will be reluctant to introduce a new improved version until they have reached maximum profit from the old. The market in financial services, which buy and sell things that have no material form, can be so easy and so lucrative that it tends to run away in what's called a boom, as people see easy ways to become rich. At some point, the fact that it is all not based on any physical wealth catches up, and suddenly prices fall and the pieces of paper or numbers stored on a computer are worth much less as everything goes bust. The boom and bust cycle is virtually impossible to control and makes the whole system and many people's lives unstable. Models of capitalism show clearly that it is impossible to remain static. Businesses must grow or go under, and there is only so much room to grow. Companies can tap into new markets in developing countries, but that in itself means that those countries develop, start their own industries and grow into a shrinking space. More often, companies grow by taking over others, so that there are now huge global corporations that own businesses in many different countries and which are more wealthy than many nations. This is often to the detriment of their employees, who find it difficult to properly bargain their labour as the free market would demand. The employer can simply move operations into a different country where wages and taxes are lower and health and safety restrictions less. This exaggerates and intensifies differences between rich and poor. Rich people can move their money around the world to pay less tax, and the large corporations they control are so important that they can demand as much pay as they want. Poor people have to pay their tax, often more than otherwise because of the shortfall from the rich, and have less bargaining power for their labour in the global market. In other words, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. A recent report from the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, said, "Inequality is bad and getting worse. In the 1980s, the richest 10% of the population in OECD countries earned 7 times more than the poorest 10%. They now earn nearly 10 times more. When you include property and other forms of wealth, the situation is even worse. In 2012, the richest 10% controlled half of all total household wealth, and the wealthiest 1% held 18% compared to only 3% for the poorest 40%. The issues with capitalism seem to only worsen as society advances. For these and other reasons, many think that the capitalist system is approaching its end, and as technology improves, the speed of capitalism's obsolescence may increase. We are already moving towards a world where most people won't have jobs, and soon most production as well as services will be automated and handled by artificial intelligences and robots. Many foresee an age of abundance and long life, but the capitalist system was not meant for such a world, and may be replaced by a system that can better handle the distribution of wealth and opportunity in an economy less defined by scarcity.